Hey everybody! Welcome back to Big Hair Gaming. We are here with another video covering our favorite game, Last War. And today's topic is we're talking about our boy Marshall on the tank team and his new exclusive weapon. Now, I think that Marshall's exclusive weapon is actually quite a bit of a game changer for the tank team in how you can strategize and use some interesting tactics to take advantage of his new power, as well as changing up how your tank team is arranged in order to do that. So, with that, we're going to jump on in and we're going to start from the very bottom. So, when does this happen and become available? Now, he's going to get his weapon on day 4 of Season 3. Like everybody else, he's going to have his own banner that's going to become available, which you'll be able to pick up for about $20 US. And that banner is going to grant you just enough shards to get up to level 4, just like most of the other heroes. Now, once you actually have his weapon, the thing that makes it such a game changer is that it's going to disrupt his regular auto attack priority. And what his initial skill, Focus Fire, is going to do is that it says that his auto attack will prioritize attacking the enemy unit in a symmetrical position to him, which is basically going to be whoever's directly opposite of him on the enemy team. And it's going to increase the enemy's chance of receiving critical hits and critical hit damage. Now, by itself, this is pretty good, because basically what it means is that you can pick any enemy hero on the opposing team, preferably in the back line, to have your auto attack just focus fire on from the very beginning. This can be pretty powerful, especially if you combine it with altering how you build his gear. You can see mine here is like especially on my tank team, which I no longer prioritize. My gear on Marshall, like I said before in previous videos, his job is support. So his job isn't to deal a ton of damage or receive a ton of damage. His job is to boost everybody else. However, now that you have this skill that can disrupt the auto attack default sequence, now it kind of makes sense to throw some good gear onto his offensive side and maybe put a good cannon and a good data chip on him so that he can deal some good damage. Additionally, I think it's probably worth investing in for people who have this exclusive weapon to throw some more points into his auto attack so that you can get some extra damage on whatever adversary you decide to focus. But wait, there's more. So it's not just that it changes the priority, but the real power is going to come in just at level 10, where you get the full assault skill, which is that after he casts his tactics, that's his special move, for the first time, your unit with the highest attack, which is likely going to be Kim, if you got an all tank team, is going to prioritize auto attacks against Marshall's target. And that's where one of the big game changers is. I have absolutely lost fights against tank teams of a power level that I have previously beaten several times with my air team. But because they had a good placement with their Marshall, I lost because their Marshall started to focus down my D.Va from the very beginning of the match. And if they had some heavy gear, some pretty decent gear, I'd say, decent gear and decent skills invested in their Marshall, they could do a reasonable chunk of damage. And because D.Va is such a big hitter for the air team, taking her out removes a substantial portion of the power of the air team. Same is true for Kim. Using Marshall to focus down the enemy Kim, who's the heaviest hitter on the tank team, does a significant damage reduction to the overall output that your adversary is going to produce. But I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to show you a little bit. And I will say with a caveat that, as I stated, my Marshall is not super heavily invested in. So, the damage that you're going to see him do by himself isn't going to be that crazy. Additionally, I don't have that level 10 exclusive weapon skill. But I can still show you some of what you're going to see and what that's going to look like. So, with that, let's take a look. Hey y'all, real quick before we move on, I just want to say if you made it this far into the video, feel free to give it a like, comment, subscribe, even if you just say, hey, thanks for the video, because all the engagement really, really does help out my channel, and I do really appreciate it. But with that, let's jump on back in. Let's take a look at this battle, for example. So the way that we've got our teams set up is that we've swapped the usual position that we have our Marshall and our Kim in, so that the Marshall is in dead center opposite of D.Va, so that he can start focusing down her from the very beginning, and we can see how that plays out. Now there is a little bit of a power difference between the teams, but we are kind of within that range where a decently strong air team could probably take us due to the damage reduction and damage buff from the type advantage that the air team gets. But you can see here that from the very beginning, Marshall is focusing down that D.Va and softening her up such that when Kim's missiles are ready, that they do a significant amount of damage to her, and then he continues to focus her down to get her out of the conversation as quick as possible. I'll replay that one more time just so we can talk through it once again. So you can see everybody's following their usual path, but the initial attacks from Marshall get D.Va's shield down quick, fast, and in a hurry, so that the missiles are able to attack her HP directly. Then we continue following up with extra attacks, and then the second volley of missiles is able to take her down and get her out of the conversation. Whereas normally, the first volley of missiles would be eaten up, or would eat up some of the bonus shield that's granted from their drone, but instead Marshall is able to take that down and then allow Kim to start firing away at her HP directly straight away. And another one. So let's take a look at this battle here. We can see our opponent is just a little bit stronger than us, but we get the type advantage. But let's take a look at how the battle plays out. Tesla's the one who gets the first major upgrade for the exclusive weapon. So you can see here we have our Marshall focusing him down right from the get-go. And he gets down to probably, 2/3 HP when the first volley comes around. Yes, he does attack everybody else, but we continue throwing the hurt on him. And then eventually our Kim is able to take him down after 2 volleys. But that is pretty solid. And then, again, like, my Marshall isn't built to deal damage. Until now, like, I've kind of just let him stick to the side and kind of do his thing and support the team. But now with this new capability, to focus down a particular opponent, like, it absolutely makes sense to put some energy into his gear and into his weapon and into his data chip and his skills as well. So I'm definitely tempted to throw a little bit more focus on Marshall, even though I'm focusing on my air team specifically. Finally, we got one more thing for you. I didn't forget about the last 2 skills. So the last 2 skills are unlocked at levels 20 and 30, respectively, for the exclusive weapon. At level 20, it's the same as everybody's skill, which is for that vehicle type. He's going to boost everybody's attack, defense, and HP by 7.5%. And then at level 30, whenever he successfully completes 3 tactics casts, that's his special ultimate, 2 seconds after that, the cooldown of the tactics of the unit with the highest attack is going to be reset. That's basically likely to be Kim if you have an all tank team. And that unit's attack and crit rate is going to increase by 10% for 3 seconds, which is very nice. So basically, after three of these things go off, whoever's still left, who's the highest attack person, is going to blast off a special attack with extra attack and crit rate added to it, which is very, very nice. However, I tend not to put too much stock in the level 30 skills when I'm assessing the value of a hero. One, because those skills are always going to pop off because they're level 30 skills, but also because, like, the cost and the time it takes to get a single hero's exclusive weapon up to level 30 is tremendous. So when I'm assessing how valuable they are, I'm usually looking at these first 2 skills, which are very, very achievable. The level 20 skill is very, very nice, and it does boost all of your heroes, but to get to level 30 is just going to be a much more tremendously expensive endeavor than reaching the other benchmarks. So, put value in the level 30 skill if you want to, but for me, the real meat and potatoes of what Marshall can do is encapsulated in these first 10 levels of his exclusive weapon. Hopefully, those little battles were enough to kind of illustrate the kind of tactics and strategy that people have been using with their new Marshall and his capabilities. Like I said before, there's a number of battles that I've lost, even with my air team against a tank team, that I should have beaten, because of the placement of their Marshal. So he can be a game changer. And if you're willing to take a moment to move your teams around in the arena, you can even push yourself a little bit further to hopefully get to that next bounding of rewards in the arena. I think it's very useful. But with that, that's going to bring this video to a close. If you found it helpful, if you found it valuable, if you learned something, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video with your alliance, because who else is going to enjoy Last War content other than the folks who are playing the game? But I also want to thank our member channel subscribers. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in supporting me, if you like the content that I'm producing, feel free to hit the join button down below. You can support me for just a couple of bucks a month, and it'll give you access to some cool flair next to your name that will appear in the comments. You'll get access to some members only videos as well as live streams, all that sorts of stuff. And as of recently, you'll get videos a day or two early for being a member as well. But yeah, with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, y'all.